Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Ecommerce Marketing Chats with myself, Charles, and the main man, Jimmy. Jimmy, how's it going, mate?
Hey man, good. Welcome back to another week. It's good to be chatting all things e-commerce again. It's been I feel like it's been a busy week. I've just been coaching a lot of people on the Google Ads front for e-commerce, but also kind of been looking at the broader picture for their, I guess, their own e-commerce businesses. And I think a lot of the conversations that are popping up at the moment is when do I scale? How do I know when to scale? So it's an interesting topic that we might look at today because I know everyone kind of does it a little bit differently. Even the coaching community that I'm a part of, they measure the stats a little bit differently to typically what I would, and so yeah, it's hard to like give a definitive answer like, hey, when should you scale? Like I've got my reasoning of when you should scale, but I think I think other people have different metrics that they look at. So I'd be curious to know your thoughts on scaling as well, Charles, when we get to that. But I think on the flip side as well, I think there's obviously a lot happening in the kind of what are they calling it at the moment? Geo? Are they settled on or?
Uh,
Uh,
Funny enough, Jimmy, I actually had a post on LinkedIn go kind of semi-viral with the headline. I think it was I don't know about you, but I hate the term GEO and like the amount of SEOs that commented like, yeah, we're the same. Like I prefer AI search
yeah, it
optimization,
just
and
makes sense.
so yeah, so yeah,
I didn't
there's a
at
battle
one
going on.
stage, yeah, at one stage it was starting to be called Leo, which is like obviously the name of my son. I'm like, please don't call it Leo. Oh my God. I would never be calling it LEO. Like whoever bought up LEO, like just cut them off and start working with them. Stop
Yeah.
working with them.
Well,
So
the reason I don't like it, for it's confusing, but one of the main reasons is when you type in GEO, like GEO services into
yeah.
Google, you get this weird mixture of like environmental services and also now generative generative
Yeah.
engine optimization, and it's like yeah, it's just this weird blend. From a branding perspective, I don't think it's the best, and it's just
Yeah. And
confusing. Like, yeah,
I think Geo, like there's already like Geo targeting in like the
location,
marketing
yeah, yeah,
space. Yeah, so
yeah,
there's kind of that overlay too. So yeah, I think when I'm talking about it with clients, I'm just calling it AI search. So
yeah.
which is how I see it. Um I think there are a few people I've seen, the people that I cover and that I'm learning this stuff off, they call it AEO, which I'm fine with.
Yeah,
Um,
so what's that? That's answer. What was that
yeah,
one again?
I think it is answer engine
Answer.
optimization or something along those
So,
lines, but
yeah, it's
or
E, isn't it? It's
potentially
AEO, AEO, isn't it? Answer
yeah,
engine
or
optimization.
even
Yeah,
AI engine optimization. I've seen a few, so but yeah, there's a
yeah.
lot. But yeah, I think people are just basically calling it ranking in AI search at the moment, and I think I'm fine with that. I don't need an acronym at the
Oh god,
moment, but
drives me mad. I almost someone commented who said, "Look, I don't care what we call it. Let's just come to a consensus
yeah,
and be done with it because it's confusing if you're working in that space, let alone if you're a business owner, which is the last thing they're worried about is what the name or the acronym is going to be called. So yeah, for me,
yeah,
like I said,
absolutely.
AI search optimization, I think is or AI search, optimizing for AI platforms is probably the name that we should go with. But
Yeah,
what
and
do I know?
I think there's going to be a lot of movement in that space, especially in the next couple. There already is a lot. I think every SEO is getting asked how do I rank for this, but also just in recent news, I saw this week that ChatGPT even announced kind of a partnership with Shopify. So
Yeah,
they are going to start to integrate Shopify directly into search, which if you're in the e-commerce space and you're not on Shopify at the moment, I think you're at like a pretty heavy disadvantage for. I just don't think not that like not that Shopify is the best e-commerce platform ever, but it it is the best e-commerce platform in terms of integrating with other services and the marketing side, without a doubt. From the marketing side, like Shopify, there's not another platform that I've seen that even comes close to kind of the flexibility that you've got to integrate with other marketing platforms and to get your products seen. But now they're taking it a step further, and Shopify are light years ahead of the other platforms in terms of already giving their customers opportunity to show up in these AI searches through integration partnerships. And yeah, if you're on Shopify in this next phase, you're going to be at a pretty heavy advantage coming into this next phase.
Yeah, for sure. No, I totally agree. I think I even saw the other week that they've created Shopify have created a whether it's a plugin, they've basically given you the functionality, even if you've got a WordPress site, to be able to effectively use Shopify's backend, which is not
Okay.
obviously ideal, but I think they are really coming after the whole market, Um, and to be honest with you, they are the best when it comes to to e-commerce. Like you are like you said, you are at a disadvantage if you're using something like WooCommerce or
Yeah,
one of the
definitely.
other platforms. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I literally just sent out a newsletter today about that subject about Shopify partnering with OpenAI. Um,
One of my clients is obviously on your newsletter because we were having a chat about it this week, and they were talking about your newsletter, so obviously they had read it. Um, but I think it's great. I should probably try to get all my clients, or I'll try to get some of my clients on there that don't have a conflict with another SEO brand. But um, yeah, like it's funny hearing my clients talk. They're talking about it from your point of view and your thoughts, Charles, based on your newsletter. And like my thoughts are usually pretty well mirrored from what you're experiencing. So it's kind of good. Like I can have better conversations with them because they're being kept up to date with what's happening in the space on that newsletter.
Well,
So
I need to get you on there as well, Jimmy, so you know what's been talked
yeah,
about as
no,
well.
yeah, it
I'll get
sounds
you.
good.
It reminds me, I'll add you to the list this week. I tell you what, I'm having some real. As much as my experience into creating my website with AI initially was an incredible experience, now it's turning into like, oh my god, there's. It just seems like the more I go down and start continue to use it without the dev background, I'm stumbling on issues. And Bolt.new have like created an updated version, and I was using it today, and they don't have they used to have like this back filter where you used to like reverse the changes, and I can't seem to find it now. So I'm like getting error messages.
Haven't you asked the AI where it is or how to do it?
uh, I did. I said like, can you revert back, or where? Yeah, where's the? Anyway, it's yeah, not as plain sailing as I thought it was gonna be, but I'm sure I'll figure it out.
Yeah, and I think there's integrations coming, especially when I was mentioning to you about the blog side of the website, because I'm going to do the same thing for my own website. I'm going to get it off WordPress and do it on. I'm using Cursor. I'm going to build it on Cursor, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty much going to do a very similar thing, move it over. It's been on the my to-do list for a while now. I think to be honest, a lot of things kind of, especially in the e-commerce world. I was chatting to someone else about this today. A lot of my work really drops off on the 15th of November. The 15th of December. Why the 15th of December? Because it's usually the date that majority of my clients stop guaranteeing delivery before Christmas. So the ad spend really like tapers down across the board. Because the sales drop down too. Especially if you're trying to capitalize on that Christmas buying period and you can't deliver the item before Christmas comes, then yeah, you're gonna lose a lot of sales. So a lot of my clients will go front end heavy on the December advertising, and then the second half they'll kind of bring it back down. So they'll keep their budget. Typically, what happens is they'll keep their budgets the same, but they'll just heavily. It's a bit of work on my end because how Google works is really annoying. You set your daily budget, and then they what they do is they times that by 30.4 to have your monthly budget. So it's actually quite hard to manage a monthly budget when you're changing it halfway through the month, because you have to like monitor it, make sure that Google isn't overspending. And for example, if you change it halfway through the month and you're increasing it, it still take that 30.4 average and being like, oh, this is what the whole budget's supposed to be for the month. So you'll like heavily overspend on the back half of the month. So it's a little bit of it's a bit of a balancing act when you're dealing with Google budgets, which is why I say to my clients, hey, if we're having budget changes, let's kind of implement them at the very end of the month or the very start of the month. So we're in a good place to actually hit that budget that you want to spend. But yeah, in terms of December, yeah, after the 15th, things kind of died. And it's kind of the time you want to be spending with family and friends anyway, just before that Christmas period. So it's a nice time to wind down. It is a good time just to slow down, reflect on your year, plan for next year. I will say this though, it is the time where a lot of business owners are bored, and it's a time where you can like it's a great opportunity to network with other people, um, to reach out to businesses that you potentially want to work with, because most people's workload has dropped considerably around that time, but people go into snooze mode basically, and the ones that don't are the ones that kind of, it happens to me every year. I reckon I get a really cool opportunity around that time every year just from reaching out to someone that I wanted to chat to, or um, putting a different coach in place, for example. It's just a good time to network. And if you haven't been able to get onto someone in the past that you want to, even if you're an e-commerce business and you want to reach out to potentially an influencer that can push your brand, after the 15th is like a pretty good time to be doing it. So,
Yeah, no, there's it seems like every year the time which people effectively kind of take their foot off the gas and slow down gets wider and wider. It's like it used to be like the week before Christmas. Now it's like, oh, 1st of December almost.
I think
Everyone's
people I think people still want to fill that void though. That's the thing. So even though they're out
yeah.
of the day-to-day grind of the business, like they still enjoy the business chats and networking. That's why it's a really cool opportunity that I don't think enough people leverage. I think it was 2 years ago, at the very last minute, like for a Christmas party, I was just invited to like a freelancers Christmas party. Basically, like the Christmas party whole theme was, hey, as a freelancer, it's a whole bunch of individuals. Let's all come together and have a Christmas party, because we don't get it because, we're solopreneurs type things. So I thought that was awesome. So I went, and yeah, I met some really cool people that I still network with today, and that yeah, have become like a important part of my business. Ben, who's on Charles's directory of freelancers, like I caught up with him there too. So yeah, it's lots of opportunity that time of year, for especially in the e-commerce space directly. I think the other conversations that I've been having this week, and this is a big one. So if you've got a business, I've heard like 3 or 4 business owners say, "Oh, Black Friday isn't right for my business." I think they go into it with the wrong mindset. They hear Black Friday and think that they have to discount their store like across the board. It's like, I said, Black Friday is right for every business because that's when everyone's got their wallet out and ready to buy. So,
Mm.
um, Black Friday might not be right for your business in the traditional way that you're thinking about it, like massive discounts across product ranges. It doesn't have to be like that. So, um, but yeah, I think even if you're not doing heavy discounts, you want your brand to pop up during that period because it's when people are willing to buy and they've got their wallets out. So you may not be having massive discounts, but um, maybe I was speaking to this about a student in the coaching community today. Maybe instead of doing a discount, you've got a tiny little giveaway that you're doing, and every purchase that's made in November goes in the draw to win this particular little thing. Um, so you've set aside whatever the giveaway is, and then you've got content to send out to your email. You've got content to put on your social media about like this little promotion that you're running. That's all it needs to be. Rather than not getting involved at all, um, you can think of 100 different creative ways to reward your audience over that time. All you really need is something to go out to your email list with, or something to put on your socials to just keep your brand active during that period. It doesn't have to be like 20% site-wide sale. Like it doesn't have to be that. And I think that's where some business owners are getting tripped up. They think that Black Friday isn't right for their business, which just sounds ridiculous to me. It's like it's basically saying, "Hey, we've got a whole bunch of people in a room that have all this money, um, and they're looking to buy stuff. So, do your does your business have stuff that people might want to buy?" And if the answer is no, then you shouldn't be in e-commerce. But so if the answer is yes, then you just want to like basically put together something that's like, "Hey guys, I'm here. And this is what we have." Um, just to stay front of mind. What are your thoughts on that, Charles? And do you have many pushback from clients about, oh, we don't want to get involved in Black Friday or um, along
Not
those lines?
necessarily. I think, yeah, I mean, one client in particular, because their margins are pretty thin,
Mm.
um, they they do participate in Black Friday. They do have a whole site-wide Black Friday
Okay.
sale, but they're not doing 50% off. They're doing, sometimes 10% off. Or one thing they like to do is they'll stack things together. So they'll say, this product plus a free gift. And
Yeah.
typically the free gift is something that has been in the inventory for a while that they almost really just want to
Yeah.
they want to get rid of because it's not actually profitable. So I think it's looking at clever ways to kind of
I agree.
present your Black Friday offer. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be 50% off all products if it doesn't make financial sense to do so. You don't want to kind of cripple yourself just to
Oh,
stay
100%.
competitive.
That's what I said too. It was like if you're on thin margins, like taking a site-wide sale is not the answer. So just get your audience excited about something. It can be like sometimes it can just be a little chocolate hamper. That's enough to I've seen $10 like chocolate little bundles, like 2 blocks of chocolate. People saying, "Hey, like comment on this Black Friday, and we'll select the winner and send them 2 blocks of chocolate." It gets thousands of comments. It costs $10.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to you don't have to break the bank for Black Friday. I think obviously the brands that do have high margins and can play in the discount space, it's high, it can be their biggest month of the year. So it makes sense for those brands, but also you want to preserve your profit too. So it's a really strategic time for e-commerce, but I think you really need to consider your profit margins because I've seen case studies. None of my clients really fit into this category where you know, some brands have done millions, and then once they've broken it all down, they've like pretty much almost lost money or broken even on the whole Black Friday period. Now, that can have it, that can have its advantages in terms of if you had your biggest period ever, but you weren't profitable, it just broke even. You've still got a really large email list, but uh, if it was my business, I wouldn't be hanging my hat on growing my email list during that period. Like, I would really want to be driving high profit margins and um, high revenue with the margins intact. There's no point having your biggest revenue month ever if you're not making any money. So it's just
No.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of a red flag for even when I'm talking to clients. They talk about, oh, Jimmy, we had our biggest month ever last month. We did like 150K. Um, and then I hear about how much they spent on ads. And then I heard about how much it cost production wise to um, fulfill this product that they were delivering. I was like, how did you make any money? I was like, oh no, we lost $10,000 last month. I was like, what? What?
I,
They're so excited
I,
about the revenue number, and it's not like the email list would even really help this client because it's kind of a product that you would buy once and it wouldn't have a high return rate. So they're spending all this money in the name of collecting data when it's got a really low return rate, and they put in all that work to like lose 10K. It's just mind blowing to me. It doesn't make sense in my head. So I don't operate that way. And like I try to steer away from clients that get excited about revenue with no profit. Like it's not the game I want to play.
No, I think it's an all too common issue, isn't it, with kind of the e-commerce space? And I think you have to be careful, especially who you're listening to. You always hear these great, oh yeah, we made, $200,000 this last month, and they're selling you some coaching on the back end.
Well,
And it's like, okay, firstly, is that, are they just spilling a bunch of BS? And two, what was the profit margin? You never
yeah,
hear any ecom brand say, oh, we made this much revenue, but we actually made this much profit.
yeah.
And I think that's probably the one thing
It,
that needs to be talked about more in that space.
I think it's horrible in the drop shipping space because in the drop shipping space, like, oh, we had like 200K a month in our first 30 days. What they don't tell you is that like it cost $200,000 in ads to like get that basically. Um, there's the missing part, and it's why the drop shipping gurus don't stick around for very long because they've done this quick win solution to get vanity metrics to sell a course, but then they don't have the skill set to run a business profitably. So how are they supposed to, coach students on running a successful business if they can't even themselves run a profitable e-commerce business? So
Yeah. There's shady players in every market, as we know. There's certainly plenty in the SEO, now AI search space as well.
oh,
Uh,
definitely. I think
it's
the other thing too is I kind of mentioned it a bit at the start of the episode that I've been having a lot of calls around, hey, Jimmy, when do I scale? And I think the hard thing for me to work with at the moment in the coaching community that I'm a part of is they don't do like a return on ad spend at a platform level. So they concentrate on what they call like their blended CPA. So basically, how much they've spent across everything, and how much revenue they've driven, and how many sales they've got, and they work out like what their blended cost per acquisition is off that. That's really hard for me to kind of scale with on um, Google Ads in terms of that data. When I'm working with a client, I really need to know, hey, there's two ways. So if you're starting out, usually we start with the ROAS, but then you can go more advanced level and update all your product SKU data so you can actually put your margins in there so we can actually work out a profit on ad spend model rather than just a return on ad spend model. So it's taking into your account your margins as well. But like if I'm talking to a client, I really need to know, hey, if you spend $1,000, how much do you need to make back from your ads to kind of, at the minimum, break even. And a lot of business owners don't know that number at the moment because they haven't taken into account, what they're paying for overheads if they've got any, and then what they're paying for in ads, and then also if they're working with a contractor like myself, taking into account the management fees. So they really need to like have a really kind of deep dive into their business and be like, okay, if we spend $1,000, we need to be making like at least a 5.5 return on ad spend. So if spending $1,000, I need 5,500 back in revenue. Just as an example. Then the question of scale becomes like a lot easier because it's like, okay, well, at the moment we're at an 8 return on ad spend, so let's keep raising the budget until we're kind of at that 6 area, and then we can do some more advanced stuff to juice it as much as we can. Now, the problem with relying just on, I guess, platform metrics is the different platforms are going to take credit for the same conversion. So there is a bit of overlap. So I don't use the Google Ads reporting as like the full, you know, revenue of truth model. It's just an indicator for what ads have clicked and potentially led to a purchase. But so what I like to do is either use a third party tracking system on top of the Google Ads, so the business owner can kind of see an overall picture, or going back into the back end of Shopify and using the marketing tab and just seeing, hey, what's Shopify actually like attributing to the Google Ads revenue? And it's to be fair, it's often a lot lower than what the in-platform data is saying. But if the client wants to use the backend Shopify data, I'm fine with that. Like I only like using the backend Google Ads data because I want as many touch points as I can for what's kind of contributed to the sale. I'm not necessarily using that to say, oh, we need to use this revenue number because, it's kind of converting the most. I'm kind of um I'm kind of in two minds about the attribution model. I'm happy to use whatever the client sees as their moment of truth, but I'll always in platform, so in the Google Ads platform, I'll always try to get conversion data in as many points as I can. But then when you're reporting that for the overall business, I understand why the business owner wouldn't necessarily want to use those in-platform metrics as kind of the metrics of truth when you've got overlay with your email and overlay with Meta and overlay with whatever other advertising efforts you're using. So yeah, it's in terms of like scale, yeah, you kind of really need to know or have a general idea that, hey, if I spend this much on ads, I need this back. I need this much back to make it even viable. And then you
Mhm.
can kind of start scaling from there, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's really good points. I mean, and how many you how many ads specialist agencies are actually having these conversations with?
None.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I shouldn't say none. There are some, but yeah, you'd be pretty hard up. I think the majority of agencies that I've either taken over with or had clients report to me about, they're just reporting on the in-platform numbers. And sometimes when I check it, I'll go in and those platform they're like double recording the purchase revenue. So say to the potential client, oh, these numbers are great, but they're actually that this is double recording every conversion that you've got. So even though the revenue here is, 100,000, it's really only 50,000 because you've double reported everything, and then all of a sudden their numbers don't look as good because they're half as good as what they thought they were. But yeah, conversion tracking is one where not enough people pay proper attention to it, and it's the most important part because it's like what you're kind of guiding. I'm not saying you have to rely completely on in-platform numbers, but you need at least accurate data to be able to make decisions. So, for example, what I see happen sometimes is if someone's running Google Ads, for example, and they're double reporting, but they've got no idea about it. They're like, "Oh, this cost per acquisition is like half the price of Meta. Let's just pour more money into Google." When matter of fact, it wasn't half of Meta. It was just double recording. So it was actually the same, but they've made a decision to put heaps more money into Google based off, wrong metrics. Um, so yeah, getting your conversion data somewhat accurate and sorted is kind of one of the most important parts of being able to make decisions on kind of what products you want to be advertising and kind of what direction you want to be going on and how the whole thing's actually performing overall.
yeah. No, I totally agree. I think, like I said, the attribution tracking side of things is something that, from my experience working with ecom brands, they're not, they're not, they're certainly not looking at it. Um, and I think from an agency freelancer point of view, it depends what data you have available. Like, I have some situations where, for whatever reason, the client doesn't want to give me even access to the Shopify dashboard, whether it's
Yeah,
because
okay.
they don't want to know how much revenue. It's almost like I don't want him knowing how much revenue he's driving to the business, because I guess they're worried that I'm gonna, you know,
I mean, you
charge
can
them,
you can you can see
which is
that
just
from
not
Google
in.
Analytics. So I mean, it'd be
Yeah,
pretty
but
average reasoning anyway.
I know it doesn't make logical sense, and it's not something that, it's
And
not
if
in
you
my.
if you install like server side tracking into Google Analytics, it's going to pull in it's going to match up pretty much identical identically with Shopify anyway. So if you've got
Yeah,
server-side tracking in GA4, then what you will see is you've got a lot more not set data, because if they can't attribute it to a source, but it's still in the back end of Shopify, it's going to show up in the Google Analytics. So it would
interesting.
pretty much almost be dollar to dollar of what's showing up in the back end of Shopify with the server side tracking, which is why I like it. It just, the client has to invest in that for it to show, because server-side tracking at the moment still comes at a cost. So
Yeah, I think that is sometimes an issue for sure. Um,
I think though in the
interest.
SEO, because like Google GA4, it's probably more important for organic, like just having those numbers. So it may almost be worth baking into your service price, the cost of installing server-side tracking for clients. One, because you can get a hell of a lot more accurate data, and two, it's going to make your reporting look a lot better too, because you'll get a lot more attributed to organic traffic, basically.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yeah, certainly something that yeah, I will start to do moving forward, I think. Uh,
I've even considered it for the ads. So I don't use GA. I was thinking about this last night. I hardly use GA4 at all anymore. I'm using Google Ads in platform data, and then I'm using the back end of Shopify. I was thinking about it last night, and before like GA4 came in, I was using Google Analytics the most out of everything, because a lot of my Google Ads goals were imported from Google Analytics. But when GA4 came in, that changed because they weren't as accurate anymore. So we went to in-platform recording. And yeah, I've just hardly found a need to be in, like, being a, this is coming purely from a Google Ads freelancer perspective. Google Analytics definitely has its place for other things, but in terms of being in the Google Ads space, like I'm relying very little on anything that's coming out of GA4.
well, yeah, I'm the same from the kind of SEO side. I kind of live inside Google Search Console. Really, is kind of the main platform, and then I'm not constantly kind of switching between which is better. Ahrefs, SEMrush, these kind of third-party softwares which help.
I think from the SEO side, where you'd use more Google, like GA4, is knowing kind of the revenue numbers that you're bringing in from organic traffic, which wouldn't be in the Search Console. Um,
Yeah,
but
if they're accurate though, I think
yeah,
that's the thing. And that's kind of sometimes why I'm not looking there, because if the client hasn't got server side tracking set up, then it's like
yeah,
I'm
so
getting
it's a minefield.
inaccurate
Yeah.
data. Yeah, yeah,
How are
yeah.
you reporting it at the moment then? Like, if a client says, "Oh, how much revenue are we bringing in from organic traffic?" Like, where are you going to
Well,
get that data?
yeah, it is usually GA if they've got it. I mean, if they have server side tracking set up, and or I have access to also the Shopify dashboard, I
Hmm.
can see attributed revenue from organic. So that's kind of the two areas where I'm looking. It just depends what access I've got basically. Um, but yeah, I think moving forward definitely makes sense for all new clients to
Bake
kind
it
of,
into
yeah,
the cost. Yeah.
bake it in. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, I even find sometimes, potentially with some of these other external tools, like, you look at sites like SEMrush, Ahrefs, where
Mm.
they've now got these kind of AI search tools, but then you have to pay additional on
Yeah.
top, and it's like before you know it, these things start to rack up.
Yeah, and I
Unless
think with the
you're,
I think with the vibe coding community too, I think SaaS software is going to become less and less valuable, mainly because more people are just going to be able to create it.
yeah,
Um, I think there was a much higher barrier to entry previously, and now that barrier to entry is like come down dramatically. And I think there's going to be some really good tools come out over the next even 6 months, which is they're going to be driven by like vibe coders or freelancers just trying to find a solution for their own problems and solving it, but then realizing, hey, this is going to be really valuable to like a larger community. I think we're going to see a lot more of that coming through, and I think it's a good thing because
Yeah, for sure.
it's going to push down the price for all these other software as a service things because if people find a viable solution for that's a tenth of the price, and it's good, then people are going to leave those kind of expensive SaaS. For example, here's a good example. So I've been using Zapier for the longest time, and I've been able to code now directly APIs into like track. I was using it for kind of Facebook, like meta ads, and I have a couple of service-based businesses, and the form the form that was filled out, I used to like connect it to Zapier, and it would send the form to a Trello board. I do all that now directly through the API, and it's all coded from like I coded it directly from Cursor. So I don't need Zapier to make that link anymore. So instead of paying however much it was, I think it was $400 Australian a year, like I got rid of it completely.
Yeah.
And instead of paying that, I pay like I think it was $150 a year for Cursor, and I can do much more than just like wipe out Zapier. I can recreate websites in a matter of a couple of days. I can use it to code scripts that I need. So I think yeah, I think you're gonna notice unless these bigger companies are providing like immense value. I've already seen like so many people say, I think it's called the NA to N community.
Yeah.
There,
Yeah.
that must have wiped out so much business from Zapier. Just because that's where everyone's going now, and it's more robust and creates like
Yeah, there's
workflows based on tasks that need to be done. So yeah, I think the kind of the more SaaS that comes out, I think either the larger guys are going to have to like compete or add additional value. Otherwise, they're going to fall off.
Yeah, no. Well, it's only like I said, it's only good for us because it's gonna mean there's gonna be more features at hopefully a more reasonable price. I think especially I found over the years in the SEO space, like unless you really the only two big kind of all-in-one external tools that you had to play with were like SEM Rush, Ahrefs, and if you were a small business and you're paying $150 a
Yeah.
month, like it's it starts to add up. So um, I think now that you've got some of these SaaS tools or vibe coding as you call it, people that are kind of building it on the fly, you would hope that that might give when you're doing SEO, give you a few more options. We'll
Yeah, I
see.
mean,
We'll see.
I've seen some people now popping up. They've got large kind of SEO communities. They're building their own tools now. I'll have to send you some through, Charles, because there's been a couple of interesting ones pop out. You might want to test by some reputable people too. Some people that I've followed in the space back from kind of the Brian Dean days. So, um,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
what was his site called again? SEO that works. Was that
Back
what? Oh, Backlinko. Yeah, that's right.
backlinko. Yeah,
SEO that
yeah.
works was his course, and Backlinko was his website. Yeah, that's right. Gosh, that feels like a lifetime ago now. So, I was reading those guides back in 2013 when I was working in house as kind of the marketing kind of manager there. So. Yeah, I mean, they were a friend. I don't, is the site even live? I haven't heard anything about it in years. I'm kind of
Yeah, no,
curious
backlink.
now.
No, it's
I know,
still
I
it's
know
still
he
pumping out
sold.
really good guides. Yeah, really good.
I know he sold it to um an external
I
company.
think
Yeah,
he's
okay.
somewhat still involved as like a advisor. Um, yeah, and
Y-
they're still putting out solid content. I was reading an article or blog well, probably about a month or so ago. So yeah, they're still putting out some good stuff.
Yeah, okay.
The other OG is I don't know if you know there's a guy called Ram Fishkin.
Yeah, from
He used to
Moz,
do
isn't it?
yeah, he used to
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
So that was how I got. That's how I started to learn Whiteboard Fridays, where
Yeah,
they literally just talk.
yeah.
Yeah,
I used
that
to watch
was
those too way back in the day. It's funny who
yeah.
It's funny here we learn. I think even from the Google Ads side, I've still got the first book that I bought here, but it was from a guy called Perry Marshall and Mike Rhodes, and I
I think I've
think
heard of Perry Marshall. Yeah,
yeah, I
Perry
think
Marshall. I've heard.
Perry Marshall wrote a book too. It's called the 80/20 rule as well. So you may have read that, but I think
Mm.
what grabbed me about that book as I was reading it, I saw that Mike was from like Melbourne, Australia, where I'm from, and it kind of was like, oh, if he can do it, why can't I do it? You know, it kind of opened that
Yeah.
realm of possibility for me. And I've obviously spoken to Mike many times since then and taken his course and content, and he's a fantastic teacher and just a really good, sharp mind in the space. But I think, yeah, there's even like in the online marketing space, I think Pat Flynn, when he was writing blogs and that kind of, he had a website called I think it was called Smart Passive Income. Um, but yeah, I learned some great marketing lessons from him back in the day. But it's so funny because he's kind of popped back up into my feed recently, but it's not for marketing. He's like full into the Pokemon community now, and
Oh, really?
he's
Interesting.
like ripping packs on camera, and it's like built like a anything Pat touches turns to gold, and he's like built now a really kind of successful like Pokemon YouTube channel, and he's got a massive following. So he runs like Pokemon conferences and stuff now. So anything that guy touches turns to gold. So he's yeah, I think the OGs in if you can go back to way back when and find the people that were, you know, really prevalent in the space, yeah, you can learn so much from those guys. So
Yeah, no, for sure. I think one that I've started to read a bit more is Dan Kennedy. Like a lot of
yeah, okay.
the marketers, and the direct response copywriters, they've all learnt from kind of
Yeah,
Dan
they
Kennedy and
I know
you know
they've all kind of based in. It's funny because they all kind of a lot of them gain their knowledge from the same OG, but then they all have their own spin-offs of, you know, how they learn. And I think that's natural. Like, for
yeah
example, if I was teaching a Google Ads course, it wouldn't be the same way that Mike taught it. Like, I mean, I learned from Mike Rhodes initially early on, but we have different ways that we approach different things, and we still think slightly differently about different aspects of it. Um, so even though I've got a lot of value from him, like how I would teach someone else would be probably different to how he would. And I think that's the value in community. Everyone's like, oh, you know, I couldn't possibly do a course on email marketing because there's so many of them already out there. I was like, yeah, but you can just carve out your own part, like your own little space in that field, and um, people are always wanting to learn from authentic people that have done it themselves. So as long as you're not trying to, you know, take people for a ride and you're offering real value, you could just put your own angle on kind of reteaching what you're driving the most value out of for either your own clients or yourself.
yeah no, for sure. Look, nothing out there is 100% unique. Everyone is taking some form of inspiration from someone.
Yeah, I agree.
And I guess the form of a good teacher is someone who can take an original concept and then articulate it in a more unique way, fit for a certain audience. So, yeah, that's why people like completely. Who's the guy? 100 million
Oh,
offers. What's
Alex
the
Hormozy, yeah.
Alex? Yeah, like none of the stuff that he teaches is unique. It's just he's able to break it down into layman's terms, and then distribute it to the masses using you know the latest technology.
Yeah.
He's just applying old school psychology principles. Yeah, from his OG teachers, whoever he's listening to.
Yeah, he learned a lot from
So
Russell. He learned a lot from Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels too.
yeah,
Like a lot of his stuff is based off that, and then um, but yeah, he just keeps it simple and executes at a really high level. And I think that's what e-commerce owners need to do too. Like they know what they need to do. They just need to do it at a high level. So for example, they know email marketing works, but how many of them actually have like really solid email marketing flows and email campaigns that are going out, you know, 2 to 4 times a week, email campaigns? I'd say very, very few. Um, so like email marketing is probably one of the most important parts of e-commerce. So if you haven't cleaned that up and got good flows and emailing your audience at minimum twice a week, then you have a heavily underutilizing that asset. So um, yeah, I think people try to overcomplicate everything. For example, I was on a coaching call today, and this particular this particular student was looking, the silver bullet, like what do I need to do to like make money? I was like, you don't need to do anything other than increase your budget. You got like a 13 return on ad spend at the moment. Let's just keep raising the budget until you kind of start to plateau a little bit towards what um your break even would be. I think the break even was 4 and he's sitting at 13. I'm like, there's no magic thing you need to do here. Just increase your budget. Like,
Yeah, it's
um,
like almost self-sabotaging it. Do you find that they, once they've got something working, they want to move on to, a different channel, rather than actually doubling down on what's
it's hard to know because I only speak to the people for Google Ads things. So
yeah,
it's not like they're coming to me doing Google Ads, like getting a couple of quick wins and then I never hear from them again. They just kind some students I find the most successful students are just like, okay, like I'm paying for this community. I'm just going to book in with you once a week and we can just talk strategy, have a look over my account weekly. I feel like if you're paying for a community with coaches in it, there's some people that pay for these communities and don't book one-on-ones with the coaches. It just sounds crazy to me. It doesn't cost them
yeah,
anything extra. So I think if I was signing up for one of those communities, I'd be dedicating because they're half an hour calls. So I'd be dedicating like half an hour every day to have a call with a different coach and just be like, okay, this is my Google Ads day, this is my Meta Ads day, this is my email marketing day, this is my overall systems business day, and this is my SEO day. And I j- it's I know we've had this conversation before, but sometimes you and I will work with clients and be like, how the hell is this person in business?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, more times than I can count.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. It's I think it's more sometimes you you think, well, they must have got to this level at some point.
I know it's
Um,
baffling
like
sometimes,
so,
isn't it?
yeah. You're like, what did they do that I didn't do? Yeah, but yeah, and at all levels as well. It's people think, oh, maybe it's just the smaller businesses that are making the mistakes. No, it's like the businesses that are
Yeah.
well established that just want to take things to the next level that are making like glaring critical errors, or they're just there's so much red tape that they're never getting anything done and they're in endless meetings. I mean, it's amazing. Uh, yeah, I think we've probably both had that experience working. Not, we're obviously working more with ecom brands now, and I don't find as much of that with ecom brands. I found it more when I was working with kind of corporate style companies in different B2B markets. Um, but yeah, certainly interesting.
I think even now for like client side, it's a red flag for me straight away if a client wants a call weekly. One, it's just a waste of time, majority of the time, and we end up just covering the same thing. Unless I've got a really good vibe about the client, I kind of just rule it out now. It's like no, like I know what I need to do on the account. I don't need your input. That's why you're hiring me. So um I don't need to sit down and have a weekly whip and tell you what I've been working on. You know?
No, I
Um,
think you're right. I think a weekly call is a bit overkill. I find the right balance is typically monthly. One of the things actually that uh, I started doing with a particular client of mine, and it wasn't all down to me. It was basically, this client, seven-figure ecom brand. They've hired multiple different specialists. So rather than hiring in-house, effectively they're hiring contractors, agencies, freelancers. But for the longest period, we were all doing our own thing. There was not enough synergy between
yeah,
us. And just this year we've started to have just a monthly call, hour max. We don't we get right to it in terms of, okay, what are the campaigns we're running, what are the problem areas, and just having that hourly call once a month has made a world of difference, just to make, improve communication, move things forward. And then if there's anything that we need to discuss after, we now have like a dedicated Slack channel where all of the service providers are in, and the client kind of has a clear picture of what's going on. So that's something that I would highly recommend if you are, an established ecom brand and you're trying to scale and you're hiring all these specialists. If you can, and if it's in the service agreement, try and get a monthly call with everyone, so it almost feels like a
Yeah.
team versus just
Yeah.
external parties.
I mean, I have monthly calls. So with my agreements, I have monthly strategy calls. So I send out their monthly report and then a link to book a call with me so we can chat about everything, the account, where it's going. So I like those calls. I think not enough business owners take me up on those, which is sometimes I have to push it. Like, hey, I need a call with you. Let's sort this out. We've got a lot to discuss, and I can see where it'd be an advantage. I think, like I'm not. Obviously, it's worked for you guys, but I think in terms of having all the freelancers on the call at the same time. But I think if the business has got a good marketing manager, that kind of negates um,
Yeah,
everyone catching
yeah,
up at once, because that's the marketing manager's job to manage all the individual pieces. I think, well, I can ask you this question, Charles. Does that business where you have those monthly catch-ups now, do they have a marketing manager? Because it
no,
sounds like
no,
they don't.
no, they don't.
Yeah.
And from the stores that I have worked with, I don't know about. I'd be interested to hear from your point of view, Jimmy. I've not seen as many stores have a marketing manager. Typically, my point of contact has always been the business owner. And then typically, if the business owner is too busy, I'm like trying to, okay, who is my point of contact that's going to help me move the needle? And in my position, typically it's the web developer who is integral to, helping us to
Yeah.
execute certain things.
I think it depends on the size of the business. If they're spending over 50K a month in ads, I'd say the majority that I've worked with at that price point, they have a marketing manager.
Okay,
So
interesting.
if they're below that, kind of been 50-50. Uh, but yeah, and like I mean, for example, the one of the clients that I had that was spending like $350,000 a month on ads, they definitely had a marketing manager.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, because that you need to be across everything that amount of spend, and you don't want to leave it to the goodwill of your freelancers to organize a monthly chat so they can all chat about what's happening. Like you need someone at the helm managing the people, the freelancers that are working for you. I think it's important. And if you're not at that level where you got a marketing manager, then the business owner needs to be doing it.
yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Um, yeah, I think communication is definitely key in these situations.
I had an issue this week. Um so the SEO for this particular client needed access to the merchant center, but this client didn't want to set up the merchant center themselves, so I did it. But now they've gone up and set up their own merchant center and then claimed the website. So my whole product feed just dropped this week from their ads because they've got a new merchant center. I messaged them like, guys, what's going on? I lost my whole product feed today. What happened? And they're like, oh, sorry, the SEO needed access to the merchant center. I'm like, yeah, but that's not the merchant center that we're using. Well, it's not the merchant center that's connected to anything. So, um, yeah, I think just being across what's happening on your clients too, helps. And yeah, I, I like I've seen some Google Ads things where the card's being declined, and for the billing side, like usually managers don't get an email notification about like a card being declined. Um, so I've seen accounts where like a client's been paying monthly, but the manager hasn't checked the account in like over a month, so they're charging them for a month, and that client hasn't actually spent anything because the card's declined. So for the whole month, and like they didn't, they're like, oh, our sales are really down this month, and I had a look, and it's like, you're not running any ads because your card got declined and no one's fixed it in over a month. Oh,
Yeah, no,
it's wild. It's wild what you see. But I think like for people like you and I, like just caring a little bit, um, puts us probably in front of 95% of agencies that are out there because they just have the burn and churn model. They'll sign as many people up as they can, try to lie to them and hold them for as long as they can, and then just replace them with new clients that they're bringing on. It's nuts. Makes me
yeah.
sick.
Look, I don't think that's gonna. I just don't think that's going to work moving forward. I think so many companies have been burnt now, and I think the the perception with AI is, some of the things can be done yourself. Not to say that that is necessarily the right way to do it, but I think it will the the quality will rise to the top. And I think there's going to be a lot of agencies trying to take shortcuts, especially when they're using like a lot of, AI to do things when sometimes it's useful, other times it's not. And, it's just going to be an excuse to sell, cheap services that have no tangible impact on a business. So I think more than anything, people like us are going to become more valuable moving forward. Um, even when we're working in this kind of AI environment where there's a perception that you can do it yourself. Um,
Definitely.
so yeah.
I think there's I just if people are still listening to this part of the episode, one, thanks. Two, I think your main focus at the moment should just be preparing for Black Friday. There's a lot happening in the e-commerce space. You need to get your email marketing sorted if you haven't done that. So priority number one, sort out your welcome flow, sort out your email marketing. And then two, start to think about how you're going to approach Black Friday. And I think the worst way to go into Black Friday is, oh, it won't work for my business. If you're saying that, I don't think you're creative enough or you're wanting to create enough value for your existing customers, like to just cop out completely. You're just costing yourself money, really, because if you're saying, oh, my business, if you're saying my business, Black Friday doesn't work for my business, it's basically like what I said earlier, it's basically saying, hey, you've got this product. We've got a room of people here with money that are looking for things to buy. Do you think you could sell your product in there? And if you're saying, oh, nah, my business doesn't like to sell products to people in a room of money. Like, it's kind of just you just need to do something really small to get your brand in the conversation for that period and yeah, have content that you can send out by email or your socials or anything to yeah, people have the I don't know about you, Charles, but I pretty much do try to do all my Christmas shopping in the back end of November now. One, everything's cheaper. Two, there's no stress about it not being delivered before Christmas. So I think it's a change that I've made kind of over the last 2 years because I used to be last minute for everything.
Oh,
Now, now I'm kind of thinking about it. I kind of see Black Friday as kind of my Christmas shopping time. I'm like, okay, like everything's on sale. I'm just going to do it all now, and then I don't have to stress about it come Christmas. So probably in the next 2 weeks or so, I'll start to make a list of family members and friends or whatever that we want to buy gifts for, and yeah, I'll start keeping tabs on the brands and basically make I'd say the vast majority of those purchases over Black Friday.
yeah, it's not a bad shout actually. I'm usually a real last minute Christmas Eve, like, oh, what the hell am I buying? Uh, but yeah, actually, it's not a bad shout at all. Why not, get some discounts and get everything
Yeah, and
sorted.
that's exactly. Just have it done. You don't have to think about it. And honestly, the last 2 years that I've done it, it's just been a massive weight off my shoulders. And yeah, you can just go into the Christmas period and enjoy it. Because I think trying to think of gifts is the worst part of Christmas. And just don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, there's a time and place for gifts, but I don't like the whole gift. Like people are like, oh, Jimmy, what do you want for Christmas? I'm like, fuck God, I don't care. Just I prefer I'd almost prefer someone just write like a letter or something now. Like I don't want physical stuff from people. I want something that carries a tiny bit of meaning that they just haven't, gone to the shop and purchased. Because I mean, it's funny when you think about it. As an adult, I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking to someone else about this. When I was a kid, I couldn't fathom how for my dad's birthday, like all he would want was underwear and socks. And when as a kid, you're like, oh, I'll never grow up and just want underwear and socks. But now it's like the most convenient thing ever to just, it's
I
I
know,
was
I
like,
know.
oh, I literally bought myself like new socks and new underwear the other day. And I'm like, oh, if someone had got me this as a gift, I would have been stoked. So it's a really weird feeling. But as an adult, like if you want, something that you don't have, I think
Yeah.
out of 10 times you just go out and buy it.
Just
It's
buy it.
not,
Yeah, I
yeah.
know. Exactly. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. It's almost, yeah, it's almost the, when I ask my parents, oh, what do you want? And they're like, well, it's like this whole hassle. We're
I
both kind
know,
of
I know.
like, well, I don't really want anything. I'm like, well, give us something,
Yeah.
put
And
anything
then
on the
and,
list. And
and
it's
then
like,
come Chri-
why are we
come
bothering?
Chris come Christmas time, there's no surprise at all because you know exactly what you're getting from everyone. So I
Yeah,
was like, what's the
I know.
point? I could have just gone out and bought it
Having said,
myself. It'd be exactly the same.
Having said that, there was one year. This was fun. So there was one year where my mum asked for some like yoga socks, specialist yoga socks, and she'd obviously told me and my dad. So we bought the exact same pair. Like it was like I think it was in bulk. It was like buy, buy three, get another pair for free. So she'd opened up her presents. She had 9 pairs of the exact same yoga socks from both me and my dad. She's
That's
like, "Do you two
hilarious,
not
man.
speak to each other?"
Oh, that's hilarious. That's
We were
gold.
just looking at each other. Well, you did. We were like, "Well, you did ask for yoga socks, so you got enough now."
There might be a
But
business in that, Charles. Maybe we should start a socks business together.
yeah, yeah, maybe. Well, I think it's pretty commoditized, to be honest with you. I'm not sure the profit margins are that great in socks, but yeah, good stuff.
All right, cool. Well, we might wrap it there for another week. If you guys are looking to follow us anywhere, check out Shopify Marketing Secrets on Facebook or E-commerce Marketing Chats on YouTube. Thanks for joining us for another episode, and we'll catch you guys next week.